Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the series in which I take a look at random talks on a platform where anything goes, except usually coherence. Hello, everyone. Hope you are all having a good Saturday so far and a good weekend ahead of you. I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. Before I began, tall person, thank you so much. Today is Parental Alienation Awareness Day. That is when a child is manipulated by a parental figure to be alienated from another parental figure. This is something to be celebrated, I guess? Or, yeah, okay. So be aware of when it happens, and I guess we're against that, right? It's not pro-alienating children. Right? Chink. Right. So everyone, again, hope you're having a good day. What are we doing today? Well, today's presentation is officially called, if I can find it here, Mother as a Leader. Because I guess there was a notion that being a mother wasn't already de facto sort of a leadership role in a household, in a family, or something. I don't know. The gist of it, at least as far as I could tell from what little I read and or listened to before I chose this one, is that our speaker is going to talk about how to be a mother in the form of running a family like a business. I don't know if that's what the argument is, but that's kind of what I gleaned from what little I paid attention to. So that's why I named it the way I did, etc. Now, I'm happy to be surprised elsewise. But anyway, I just thought it was catchier to say Motherhood Incorporated than I don't know what this is about. That's no fun. Before I begin, some hellos to those of you who have decided to join me live today for this wonderful educational adventure. Haywire of Alba, hello. Keeverdam, hello. Functional, hello. 2002 Chrysler PT Cruiser Woody, hello. Tall Person, hello. Raziel, hello. The Dead Kaiser, hello. Mike R, hello. The Useless Cook, hello. Humble Clay, hello. Seftus Wolf, hello. Robbie Schroeder, hello. Somnambule Nation, hello. Richo 8181, hello. And Shio Gorath, hello. Adam Mangold, hello. And then it jumped. Enoch the Stable Master, hello. Quinn the Cultist, hello. Gunfox 61, hello. Kiaxa, hello. Midday Sun, hello. Sean Uli, hello. And that one servant of Satania, hello. Lucifer Never Changes, hello. Hocketus Maximus, hello. Emperor W.R. Costin, hello. Aspie Auntie, hello. Angela Ariaga, hello. Daryl Parnas, hello. All right, guys. John Smith, hello. Also, you may notice, those of you who have been keeping tabs on my channel in the last couple hours, I have released my own red circle carpet speech. It's a very brief video, taking what I've learned from these TEDXcellence experiences and turning it into something of its own. You know, just taking some negative notion and smashing it up against a positive concept and then making a talk out of it. It kind of wrote itself as soon as I came up with the phrase. But you'll have to check that out after this if you haven't already seen it. I hope you enjoy that. I kept it brief. Speaking of brief, this presentation is only just over 10 minutes long, so it shouldn't be too much, but who knows? I've had shorter things turn into longer rants, depending on where it goes. So we're about to start. A couple more hellos before I move on. Havoc Vladimirovich Stalinov, hello. Enoch, I already said hi to Enoch. Okay, I've said hi to everybody that I see right now. If I didn't say hi to you, I'll say hi later. All right, so guys, first couple seconds to get a sound check. The title card reads, Mother as a Leader, Joni Fetters. And underneath her profile picture there, I'm not sure if you can read it, depending on the size of your screen, it reads, Conscious Mother, which I guess is more productive than being an unconscious mother, but I suppose we'll find out. So with that, guys, let's begin.
Our family has always been close.
Our family has always been close. And that little cutout when she started the word family, that's part of the original recording. I thought it was a problem with my speakers or something when I first listened to it, but no, it just cut out. So everybody hear that? Kiever Dam says okay. Somnambulation says okay. All right. And Enoch says, you can keep saying hi to me, Scribe Light. I'm worth the multiple hellos. I'm never going to say hi to you again. So there. All right, let's go.
Really close.
Whoa, close, really close? Do you live in the Deep South somewhere by any chance? Sorry, those of you who live in the Deep South. I'm just playing on stereotypes.
Like weekly Sunday night dinners, basement sleepovers, an annual 30-person vacation on both sides close.
Basement sleepovers? All of you at once? Okay.
So when my sister and brother-in-law, who had 2 small children at the time, decided to get a divorce, it shattered us all. Have you seen the sadness that covers a child's face when their parents decide to separate and their family is breaking apart?
No. I haven't seen sadness cover a child's face like that. I've seen upset children before, like having to have a sleepover in a basement with a bunch of old people. Actually, no, I haven't seen that either. I'm just sort of having to imagine it, unfortunately. Thanks, lady.
It's gut-wrenching. I personally experienced it as a child, and I saw it in my niece and nephew's eyes. I'm sure you all have witnessed the traumatic aftermath that it creates for everyone.
Okay, and the T in traumatic just dropped out there on the recording for whatever reason. I really hope this doesn't keep going. All right, so your large family wasn't perfect. Okay.
It wasn't easy, and there were many bumps in the road. But I'm happy to say, 18 years later, we gathered as usual for Thanksgiving dinner, the entire family. This included my sister and her wonderful husband, my ex-brother-in-law and his new wife, and all their children. My new brother-in-law has fixed my ex-brother-in-law's plumbing.
Yeah, well, okay, you see, the connection to all of this, as you kind of intimated, is children. Because even if the mother and the father end up separating, they still have the children in common. And I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop here.
The kids can talk openly and freely about their parents, and everyone can show up at any time without the tension of the past.
Do they have a choice but to? I mean, you guys seem to be so close together. Is there any quiet time where not everybody is up in everybody else's business? I have a very, very small family. We're not very well extended. Most of our other relatives live far, far away. So it's pretty much just been the 4 of us my entire growing up. Me, my mother, my father, my sister. And I've always seen the pluses and minuses of being a part of or being in close proximity to a large family. So I've always wondered, it's like, is it more advantageous to have so many people constantly connected to you, or is there a benefit to having a little bit of quiet time and distance? I don't know. I only know one side of the coin, so.
We even hosted my ex-brother-in-law's wedding shower. This may not seem normal, and you might ask what influenced this outcome.
The children. They're still connected to your family via the children. So maybe?
Despite the pain, anger, and confusion at the time, we all committed to a very clear vision. The kids would be put first, Jim would remain a part of the family, and love would conquer hate.
Whoa. Love would conquer hate? Okay, you didn't name the circumstances of why your brother-in-law divorced or vice versa for your sister. But why would you hate him? Yeah, you can't avoid the children connection. They're always going to be his children. Love would conquer hate. Okay, are you going to tell us why there would be hate?
This required us to put egos and hurt feelings aside, that custody was peaceful, not a war, that fear and guilt had to be managed, and that all of us had to nurture relationships on both sides, not take sides.
Was it an acrimonious divorce? You didn't specify. That's the part that I'm missing here from this equation.
It meant we had to redefine family, the roles, and the rules of how it was supposed to work to how we were going to make it work.
No, that's not redefining family. He's still a part of the family. He is the father of your nieces and nephews. He doesn't just not become part of the equation anymore because the marital bond was broken. I obviously missing some details here from this story.
This experience illustrates the incredible value that occurs when a group of people commit to a shared and common purpose. When leadership is present, it guides us through the chaos and provides that North Star for those to see what's important in the long run.
Yeah, okay. What were the circumstances of the divorce? Was it acrimonious? Did he do something wrong? I don't understand. Or is it simply the act of the divorce and that he was the one not directly blood related to the rest of you that makes him someone not to hate? I need more information. Please. I doubt I'm going to get it, but I'm going to ask anyway.
This is an example of where parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins stood up to be leaders.
Could Jim not also be a leader because he's still a parent?
Our lives are filled with ups and downs. And as mothers, you are typically at the forefront of your family's business.
Yes, and as fathers, you're completely standoffish about it and uninvolved. I guess.
We play so many roles: barber, nurse, mediator, ATM machine, taxi cab driver. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, we play so many roles like breadwinner, mechanic, counselor, manual laborer, and all of those other things. Psychiatrist, taxi driver, teacher, etc., etc. Okay, sure. Being a parent requires wearing a lot of hats. Oh, no, sorry. Being a mother. Fatherhood, whatever.
It's amazing. And it's also somewhat humorous, the number of roles as parents we play.
As parents? I mean, I thought it was mothers at the forefront, but okay, I'm glad to hear you say parents.
But there's one role that doesn't get talked about as often, or perhaps it just gets lost in the shuffle. And that's the role of a leader.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Managing your children, raising them, teaching them, earning a living, being a role model, etc. All of that has nothing to do with a leadership role. None of us think about that ever or often, you say. Okay.
I want you to try that on for just a minute.
Oh, I'm trying it on. It's really, really difficult. Boy, can I stretch my imagination to think about a parent as a leader. I don't know. Maybe I need to drink more.
My job as a mother is to lead the family.
Your job as the mother is to lead the family. It's not a partnership, with being parents. If that is your situation, I understand not every household is a dual parent situation, but let's say it was a single father. Is it not his job to lead the family in the absence of a mother? I know. I'm being nitpicky here, but that's what I do.
I am a leader in the family.
Keep telling yourself that. I'm sure you'll make yourself believe it one day.
I mother as a leader. I started drawing connections between motherhood and leadership when I noticed my family's quirky patterns.
Wow, that's an innovative revelation. Nobody's ever looked at motherhood, or dare I say, parenthood, as being in a leadership role before. Head of the household, breadwinner, role model, decision maker, budgeter. No, none of these things have ever equated to a notion of leadership before. Only you have come to that conclusion because of your quirky household. Oh boy.
I was the wild woman driving down the neighborhood like a maniac with wet socks hanging out of the car window in hopes that they would drive by the time we got to the soccer game.
So you were a crazy, wacky, wet-socked soccer mom. Wow, look at the crazy, wacky picture before us of picturesque upper middle class, if not upper class suburbia. Wow. Is that her? I mean, maybe she's just using a random photo, but I'm looking at the person in the car, and unless she stopped dyeing her hair or something, I don't think that's her. I'm happy to be corrected.
Sure, you can relate. When we'd get there, I'd open the car, I'd push the kids out, and I'd say, run as fast as you can, we're late.
Run away from your mother quickly, please.
Imagine the stress in our car and the emotions my kids felt being the last ones to join the team.
Or maybe as their mother held socks outside the window as they drove along, embarrassing the hell out of them in front of their peers. Oh, sorry, I was taking a step backward there. Thank you. This is Kyle. Hello, chat people and scribbles. Hello, Kyle. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much.
I'd love to say that this only happened once, but it happened over and over and over again.
What's the definition of insanity?
Something was broken. And I realized I was the one responsible for changing it, primarily because everyone else in the car was under 12.
You're responsible for being the adult? My eyes are wide open now.
So I started looking at my family like I looked at work.
Oh, that sounds very healthy.
I started comparing business structures with family structures, or how we coach entrepreneurs to grow a business to how I was coaching my kids through life.
And they're exactly the same thing, aren't they? Oh, do tell.
And I realized that I wasn't using the business practices and leadership principles I so wholeheartedly believed in at home.
Because maybe your home isn't a cold corporate structure based on profit. Maybe.
And there was so much space for it. The truth is, I wasn't leading my family, I was managing them.
Okay. That reminds me of something. I don't know if it's pertinent or not, but it reminds me of something. Someone I knew once ran a nightclub, and they gave me a couple of pieces of advice, sort of like unsolicited advice in regards to running a nightclub. And the one that stuck out with me is, you can't manage the people. You can only manage the space. And what they meant is like, people are always going to be unpredictable, etc. You've got a group of people in a place, you don't know them, etc. You're a business owner. But he said, you can control the behavior of people based on the layout of the things you have around you. So if the bathroom is located in this spot. You know that people have to go in this direction to get there. And knowing that, you can arrange things in order to make sure that the flow of action goes from point A to point B. So if the bathroom is there and the bar is there and the entrance is there and they have to go around here, you'll always know where someone has to be to get to a certain place, because people are unpredictable. You cannot tell for sure on a day-to-day basis what people are going to do, but you can control where they go to do it. And that's as much control as you can manage running a club. And it was an interesting insight to me of how to look at the world in the abstract when you're dealing with people, either, in a literal sense of a geographical space, or sort of in the abstract sense. And so, yeah, she wants to manage her family like she does a business. I wasn't leading, I was managing. Well, there's a time for leadership and there's a time for management. But here's the thing. Those two concepts are intertwined, as far as I'm concerned, all the time with being a parent. You are managing as well as leading. You're having your own boundaries tested by trying to figure out how to best parent, because there's no guidebook. There's no set of laws outside of just, the basic not hurt your children, etc. But you know what I mean. It's a constant learning experience. That's what I learned from my parents. That's what I've learned from my peers who have become parents. It's a give and a take. It's applying the lessons that you've learned in life to trying to raise a child or raise a family or manage a family, the budget, the space, the time, the activities. It's conjoined. It's not one or the other. It's both, kind of, all the time. Now, I'm not a parent. So those of you out there who are parents, I'm more than happy to be corrected on that. That is my observation. That is what I've been told. So anyway, does she want to take out the humanity of the family dynamic and turn it into a corporate structure? Is that what I'm getting?
And there's a really big difference. So I set out to explore what it might look like to apply leadership principles from the office to the most important organization I will ever lead, my family.
I am very curious to know how that went and what office lessons or tactics you employed with your children. And also just, I know this is a extraneous question, but where was Dad in all of this?
So management looks like a taskmaster. It's making sure dinner is on the table, it's brushing teeth, and making sure people use soap when they shower. Management feels like productivity, efficiency, and often ends in exhaustion. It is our natural response to fear and feeling out of control.
Aha. So trying to bring order to the disordered. Well, that high-level notion can apply to a lot of things. Family, work, and otherwise, or just internal strife. Tarcular Herophilus says, I was a single parent and have an MBA. The two are not the same at all. Torcular, you're just showing off the limits of your own vision. Pay attention to our speaker. She is an expert.
Management is short-term.
Management is not short-term. It's not necessarily. But okay.
Leadership, on the other hand, is long-term.
Not necessarily. Either you're successful at one or the other, or you're not with one or the other. Either your strategy with one or the other is beneficial or it isn't. And either you are up to the task or you're not, or you learn to become such. It's all right. Let's see. Leadership, doing the right things. Management, doing things right. Leadership, doing the right things. Not necessarily. Right, this is one of those situations where a notion comes to my mind and I'm going to have to like sort of reverse engineer why it came into my mind. And I know I'm a nerd by saying this, but when I think of leadership, all of a sudden I thought of being a DM or a GM in a role-playing game. Now, one of the tricks to being an effective GM or DM is not letting the players know whether or not you were prepared for what they're doing. Right? There's a certain level of chicanery that goes on when you're running a tabletop game. The effective GMs and DMs, and I'll just say GM for shorthand here, don't let the players know they've thrown them off balance. They've got that game master screen up. They've got their own paper behind the thing. They've got dice that they're rolling either for sound effects or otherwise. And they let the players think that they've got it all under control. And that's an important part of being a GM. Not letting it's almost like poker to a certain extent, not letting the players know that they've thrown you for a loop or they've put you in a situation you're not prepared for. If you go with it as though you've always anticipated they were going to do X, Y, and Z, or you've got a plan or you've got a contingency, they don't think they've got one over on you. And the mystery of what you're going to do next persists. So leadership isn't necessarily doing the right things. It's making people believe you know what you're doing. Not always, but to a great extent. Sometimes leadership is part con job. And don't let anybody tell you different. That's my experience.
It's rising above the day-to-day to look out into the future. And then it's defining how we're going to live so that we can reach our hopes and dreams.
Hello, Jenna P. in the chat. Nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. I'm sure you can benefit from this TEDx talk because it deals with, motherhood, managing families, which you need all the education for, I'm sure, because this lady's got some real deep insight. Let's see. Ryan Rawlings, you are no sadist. You are a masochist. Your continual doing these videos shows you hate yourself or something. We must stage an intervention. Well, if you find Jeff Van Vonderen and you can get him to do a live stream chat with me where he can intervene and tell me all these things, I will submit.
If management is the who, the what, and the when, leadership is the how and the why.
If management is the who, the what, and the when, leadership is the how and the why. I guess, sort of. I mean, management and leadership are such abstract concepts. I mean, leadership is interacting with other people. Management isn't necessarily interacting with other people. Like, I manage my emotions, let's say. I don't know why I thought of that example. But leadership requires me to interact with others or to stand as an example for external other people. So they're very different things inherently. By definition, they are very, very different things. In the workplace, I can practice management and have nothing to do with other people. Managing my time, managing my resources, managing my tasks, etc. I know I'm getting very sort of English major specific on word choice here, but that's just how I work.
Why are we going to soccer in the first place?
Because your kids like it and they need exercise, or you're living vicariously through them, through their accomplishments on the field that you couldn't possibly have achieved when you were a kid. There are so many possibilities.
How do we prioritize our time and energy?
Well, that's how. Make a schedule. That's the how, if you want to get real brass tacks about it.
What do we hope the outcomes will be in the long run?
Happy, healthy, wise children, and I don't know, peaceful family home life. I mean, until Jim decided that he was happier not married to your sister, I guess.
Management is good, but it's
Management isn't necessarily good unto itself. How it's done might be good. The concept is ambiguous.
even better when you add in leadership. And
management does not require leadership. Leadership does probably require some kind of management, but okay. I know. Sorry, guys. This is how my brain works.
they should work in partnership together. But who has the time to worry about the future state of their family when they're dealing with the immediate and urgent of driver's permits, dogs eating retainers, and doctor's appointments?
That is the management of your family. All of those things, as you've described and in relation to what you're talking about, that is the management of your family. Those things do not exist separate from that.
My professional work helps business owners escape the management trap and move into leadership.
Okay, I'm going to just look at this diagram real quick. Professional management, direction, leadership, strategy. Okay. Control, culture, organizational performance. Control, culture. Given how many talks or presentations I've done in the past that deal with corporate culture and managing the culture, control. It's a very, very cold term. Operation, business structure, people development. Okay, now she might do this herself in a second, but I'm going to visually replace professional management with parenting or family management. Family management, direction, leadership, and strategy. Family management, control, culture, organizational performance. How do you measure the organizational performance of your family? I mean, are the kids currently being prosecuted? Might be one metric, I suppose. Family management operation, business structure, people development. Well, so far as I know, unless you're running like the Corleones or something, or the Trumps, there's no business structure for your family. It's just your family. People development, is that like raising your children? I don't know.
Using a system we call professional management. It helps them shift their focus to working on the business, not just in it. So I started asking myself some hard questions. What would it look like if I started working on my family, not just in it?
Well, I guess that would make you sound like you assume your family is inherently flawed. It would also make it sound like you weren't previously taking an active role in leading your family or taking part in your family, that you need to somehow coldly assess your family as a business strategist. I don't know what message you're trying to send with that question.
What if I started practicing professional motherhood at home like I practice professional management at work?
Do you really want your children to see you as a boss? Do you really want your children to see you as an employer? Do you really want to compartmentalize the different functions of the household as business departments and each member of the family as an individual employee with some kind of mechanical cog-like function in the grand machine? I mean, is that really what you want?
Here's what it would look like. It would look like focusing on the long-term viability of our family, not just the urgent needs.
The urgent needs are the long-term viability of your family. I mean, let's take for example her opening story. Okay? Her nieces and nephews, I'm assuming there's more than one, in the middle of a divorce. Your nieces and nephews are having an immediate crisis. How they manage that experience, how much support they feel from their family in that immediate crisis, will have an effect on the long-term health of your family. I mean, having Jim still be part of the family and avoiding hate for whatever reason there was to hate Jim. You had to manage those instances over the long term, but they were immediate crises because people grieve and have those things happen, and how you address that, how you show them as a leader, as a role model, how to work through those things informs them for the long term. I mean, what you do in the moment with a family or with a kid or with a spouse or whatever else is, in effect, an investment for the long-term health of your family. Because you don't, like I said, you can manage the space but not the people. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what decision someone's going to make. You don't know what change is going to occur. You have to take it in stride and say, our family is structured like X, and we are going to move within this structure as best as we can and figure out the little fires that come up as they come up and try to put them out or manage them as they go, with the overall hope that by working together, supporting one another, we will have an eventual long-term healthy family situation. But that long-term situation is made up of immediate crises or immediate successes. It's not a business. It's not you mark someone's performance on how many numbers they hit on a particular day. And if you manage your family like that, if you reduce everyone's actions down to metrics like, I don't even know, like you would manage an employee, that doesn't sound healthy to me. Maybe she'll explain elsewise and convince me, but that doesn't sound healthy if your aim is to have a healthy family, in my opinion.
It would be helping bold dreams become articulated, shared, and supported. It would be setting priorities and developing people for the future.
That's called raising your children. That's just called raising your children. Or, firming up relationships with your other family members or something. Why do you need to put a quote unquote professional spin on this? What is the utility of doing so?
It would be intentionally expressing our values, adjusting family routines, and setting in motion a proactive cycle where we all work together as a system.
You're not a system. You're a family. I don't know. Trying to turn this into some kind of like vulcanized arrangement. And I mean vulcanized like Spock from Star Trek, not rubberized. That'd be really weird. That sounds, inhuman, to put a phrase on it.
What I'm not proposing is you sit your first grader down for a performance review.
Well, that's what you're making it sound like. Because if you're drawing such a stark distinction between family leadership and business leadership and trying to overlay business leadership onto the family, I'm not quite sure what else you're suggesting.
What I am proposing is that we spend just as much time as visionaries reflecting on the bigger picture of our families as we do air traffic controllers.
What? And all of this presupposes that other families, other parents aren't already doing this, but in the context of family and not looking at it as a business. I mean, I don't know if this lady is just the height of arrogance to think that somehow she's come up with some magical equation that no one else has ever come up with before. I mean, maybe they haven't put in the same terms that she has, but have there been no successful families who have just cared about their loved ones and been pragmatic when they needed to be and loosened up when they needed to be otherwise and not looked at it as a machine and looked at it as a family? Does she really think that she's come up with something novel here by just changing a few words? I have to assume that she has.
The switch is possible, and it's well worth the work.
There's nothing to switch. I don't even know what you're doing. It sounds like you're trying to take the emotion, the humanity out of the family dynamic and have the mother at the top, apparently, look at everyone like they're employees and that different parts of the family are different departments that need to be reviewed for performance output. If you're not talking about running your family like a business, then what are you talking about?
But it's not easy. When we found out our daughter needed a kidney transplant, our world was shattered again. Words cannot describe the emotions we were all going through, and I was paralyzed with fear. So of course, I went into management mode, making doctor's appointments, researching information, and paying insurance bills.
Yes, that is what a responsible adult does. And yes, there is a place for setting aside emotions and solving the problem. This is what is usually called stoicism. This is what is usually attributed to men as a reflexive, instinctual, natural behavior, and which is also, if I might add, often vilified as being bereft of emotion. So, you were pragmatic. You set aside the over emotions of the crisis to do everything that needed to be done mechanically to help out your daughter who was ill. Well, in that sense, I commend you for not losing it and instead working to solve the problem. That's very, very masculine of you.
Until my daughter ushered me into leadership. She laid the groundwork for how she wanted this experience to look and feel. She told us how she wanted to be treated in the process. And she even told us how she wanted to be supported and put in structures that we were allowed to talk about it from 6 to 7 on Wednesdays because she didn't want it to rule her life.
So your daughter was the leader here in managing her own life and well-being. Okay.
It's not what she wanted it to be about. She pulled me out of the weeds. And together we all started defining success criteria that would guide us through a long, complicated, but ultimately successful transplant.
So I'm confused. So you did everything you could as a mother to set aside emotion, to take care of the cold equations of dealing with a transplant situation. And, I commend you for that. Not a lot of people can set aside the emotions of the situation and try to make sure that everything's done that can be done. So congratulations. But then your daughter turned around and said, what? I don't want to live my life like I'm sick all the time. So this is how I have to talk to you, Mom, because this is the language you understand. I mean, that's what I'm getting. Because oftentimes children learn how to communicate to their parents the way their parents think. So your daughter talked to you like a business person. Probably because it was the only way she figured you could understand where she was coming from in order to get what she needed. That's my guess. Does that change your interpretation as I speak rhetorically to someone who can't hear me?
I'm sure if you look around, there are dozens of practices in your business or leadership that you have learned about that you can apply at home.
And suddenly I'm thinking about The Sopranos and how Tony would take these talks with Dr. Melfi and then turn them around and apply them to his family, his crime family. You take the insight of something that is completely unrelated and abstract and then use it as a tool against his family for his own manipulative purposes. Yes, I'm sure there are a lot of things you could learn from work that you could then apply to family life. And likewise, there are a lot of things you can learn from family life to apply to work. But work and family are not the same thing. And if you start believing that one or the other is exactly like the opposite, you're asking for problems. Let me just tell you.
Have you tried a family mission statement? Or perhaps coaching your kids through their next crisis rather than telling them how to handle it?
A family mission statement. I mean, outside of a family motto on a coat of arms, which is about as abstract as you can get, a family mission statement? Really?
Or how knowing your spouse's Myers-Briggs type might improve communication?
Yes, by knowing the results of a test you can take online to be told what kind of person you are, you can then take those abstract definitions, place them as labels on each of your family members, and assume to know how they think all the time and how you interact with them. Because, people are static. I don't know if you know this, guys. People are static. They never change. Nothing changes. Once you've got them clocked, you know them forever. There's no variability. There's no possibility that they may change or have a revelation of their own or make their own decisions. No, once you've got that label on them, they're pegged, and you know it forever. Just keep operating like that. I'm sure it'll go well for you.
Or exploring individual family members' values might help us better understand each other, the decisions we make, and how we experience the world.
That's got nothing to do with business. Getting to know your family members is now a business case.
Mothering is our greatest joy.
And fathering is inconsequential.
And yet it is filled with a series of impossible challenges,
which men never have to deal with.
We want to teach independence without leaving them alone.
And men never think about that.
We want to help them let go of the past, but embrace an unknown future.
Unless the past better informs their decisions for the future. Again, we're talking in very broad strokes here, so okay.
We want to teach them how to admit defeat, but believe in hope.
Admit defeat, but believe in hope. Again, I guess it depends on the context. I don't want to and I'm talking hypothetically here. I want to teach my kids to be self-defeatist. Like admit defeat. Well, maybe in this one instance, but if you want to achieve something, keep working towards it. Now just give up. That's what I hear when I hear her say that. Admit defeat, like just give up. But hope for better. Well, maybe admit you don't know what you're doing, learn to do better. Something, practice makes perfect and so on. I don't know. That just sounded very defeatist to me. Well, admit defeat.
Leadership will not keep the flu at bay, eliminate arguments, avert financial difficulties, or even reduce the chance of divorce.
Well, right now I'm being told day after day after day that the lack of leadership in the White House is not keeping the flu at bay or the coronavirus at bay. And if there was more leadership, well, the coronavirus would just be defeated. It's not something that we're going to have to be living with for the rest of our lives in one way, shape, or form because it's coronavirus, like so many others that we deal with every day, whether we know it or not. But I digress.
But it does increase your joy, your satisfaction, time, focus, and a greater ability to be present and proactive in our families. I invite you, your spouse, grandparents, and even ex-brother-in-laws to improve the world by adding more leadership into your families. In the words of author Sherry Dew, there is no greater word for leader than mother and father.
Oh, father? Wait, father? I must have missed something. Most of this talk only glorified motherhood. I didn't know that fathers could be leaders. I didn't know that fathers could find joy in being a parent. I have no idea why I didn't have those notions presented to me.
There is no more important leadership than parenthood.
Okay, well, that quote taken all by itself, I will not disagree with. But, okay, in short, nothing she said convinced me that applying business tactics to my family life makes any sense. But then I'm just me. What about you, chat? What did you think? You listened to it along with me, interruptions as they were, all mine. So I take responsibility for those. As a leader, let me know what you think. I will scroll up here and look at some chats already. Angela Ariaga Scribe, didn't you know that fathers have nothing to do with how their children deal with life? I know, I didn't know that. Also, did you know that fathers have nothing to do with how mothers become parents or better parents over time? Did you know that mothers have nothing to do with how fathers become parents or better parents over time? Did you know that parenthood isn't also a partnership of leadership over whatever else is going on? Most times, I mean, unless you have one that's sort of dominant over the other and the other one just kind of submissive or subversive to the other one. Different families have different dynamics, but parenthood only goes one direction, I guess. It's not a team effort or nothing, I suppose. Humble Clay, Trump's only on the TV every freaking day, keeping us updated. Yeah, that's not leadership. Being on TV every day, keeping us updated. There's showing up, and then there's being a leader, and these are two different things. And I have my criticisms of Trump, but we're not going to talk about that here any more than I've already intimated to it. Some emulation, word singular, but mothers and fathers. Yes, I guess. Alyssa doesn't lie. Honestly, one of the ongoing problems in my life and most people's lives is a father that didn't step up. I can't speak to that. I've been very fortunate for all the problems that I've had with my father growing up, and there were many. He's never not been there. He's always been there. He's always worked. He's always supported the family, and so on and so on. I mean, with my increased time and hopefully wisdom in life and being able to look at who he is and how he behaved and everything else in context, I am very fortunate to have had the family that I have and to have had the parents that I had. I know a lot of people don't necessarily have that same experience, and I don't know what else to say than, I feel both fortunate and sorry for people that don't end up with that. It sucks. I wish I had more insight into it, but No, I don't know what kind of person I would be if one or the other of my parents weren't around to help raise me. I really don't. So, yeah, I wish I had something more insightful to say, but I don't. Ryan Rawlings, Scribelight, this lady is raising corporate drones. Her kids are going to grow up into monsters who only care about efficiency. Well, I mean, here's the part where I think she was completely oblivious to what she was doing. How did her daughter communicate to her about dealing with the transplant issue? Her daughter acted like a business person, or articulated her needs the way a business person would, by setting a schedule and setting limits and yada, yada, yada. Now, the mother here might look upon that as something like, oh, isn't that great? Isn't that reinforcing my perspective on how to manage a family? Or, like I said, her daughter may simply be responding to the only way she thinks her mother could understand her. Not as a emotional, feeling human being, but as a structured, regimented business person. You know, it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, I'll tell you what, mom was there before the kid, so I think the kid has adapted to what mom has been putting on her. I don't think the kid is exemplifying something that somehow reinforces mom's philosophy. That's just my theory. A game theory. No, it's not a game theory. Well, it might be game theory. Kieverdam, does a baby have to fill out an application stating why they would make a good progeny? I don't know. I suppose how many personality tests do you push in front of your kid, and at what ages, to determine where they fit in the family? Let's see. Humble Clay, I think there are some business tactics that can be applied to raising a family, but I wouldn't make a direct comparison to running a business. Sure. I mean, there are lessons I learned in conflict management, in being a part of the role-playing game group that I was a member of. I mean, I learned how to sort of mediate and de-escalate in situations like that had to do with rules and assumptions about this, that, and the other, that I was able to carry over into different aspects of my life. But I did not look at those different aspects of my life in the same way as I looked at the context of being part of a role-playing group. I looked at it as, okay, I've learned how to take a deep breath, listen to what's being said, and try to solve the problem, and not finding myself entwined in someone else's freak out. That was a useful tool, but it is a tool that is applied differently in different situations. It's not a one-for-one comparison. Let's see. Some emulation. What is your Myers-Briggs type result, Scribelight? I don't know. What day of the week is it? I've taken that test, 2 or 3 times as a novelty from Facebook over the years, and I got 2 or 3 different results each time. I don't know. I think in one instance I was the judge, and in the other instance I was, I don't even remember. Something. Because, as I said, we're all static. We never change our opinions, our outlooks, our perspectives on things. Once we've got branded with one of those Myers-Briggs tests, we're set for life. I got to say, when I've the few times that I've seen, and it's not the few times, I've seen them a lot, on like dating sites, people will put their Myers-Briggs result in their profile. That's almost an immediate turnoff to me. Not necessarily a deal breaker in and of itself, but it's a red flag that someone would sort of set their North Star by what effectively comes down to being the equivalent of a zodiac sign. Because it's one thing to say, oh, I'm a Gemini. And, it's like, okay, or I'm a Taurus. And like that can be kind of cute. Most people don't take that too seriously unless you talk to them. But once they start saying, oh, this scientific zodiac sign says I'm X, that I get a little wary of. Let's see. Alyssa doesn't lie. It says sometimes men don't know how to be fathers. Don't get me wrong. He's not a bad dad. Just didn't know how to be a father. He didn't know how to assume that role. Sure. I mean, very few people are prepared to be a parent, even if they've planned out their family, etc. I mean, it's one of those things where like you can listen to all the advice in the world, but you don't know what it is until you're doing it. Same goes for mothers. I've either witnessed as a peer or seen as a growing up child mothers who have absolutely no idea what they're doing. It's not, as far as I'm concerned, a gendered thing. It's a people thing. Some people can adapt. Some people are prepared. Some people don't know how to, or they need to learn to, or they need the support of their partner to figure it out and to navigate it, because it is not a straight line, sort of progression. That's life. And that's also not business. Like I say, there are comparisons that can be drawn between managing a business or overseeing a family, but they're not the same thing. Different lessons are applied differently in different circumstances, even if they're the same tool, Just a couple more minutes and then we will wrap this up. Let's see. Angela Arriaga, I'm generally the inspirer or the motivator, but I always come off INFP or ENFP. If you say so. Jenna P, the same goes for mothers. Yeah, like I said, it's a human thing. It's not a one or the other thing. So, like I say, some parents can't handle it and they end up being absentee or worse or something. And some can, or they adapt, or they learn over time. I've known some people in my life who I've watched have children, have absolutely no idea what they're doing, and then one day it just kind of clicked. I've also seen the reverse, where somebody was so prepared and they were this, that, and the other. They were practically like the Boy Scout sort of stereotype of like reading all the books and getting all ready, and then they burnt out and things went sideways. I mean, thankfully not tragically or anything, but just they ran out of jet fuel. It's not a straight line. Life is not a straight line. It's not as easy as just setting up a business plan and saying, okay, we've got this goal of this amount of money we want to make. And then you interchange your parts with different hires and fires as you go. You can't fire your family. I mean, there are legal mechanisms to separate yourself from but you can't fire them. They're there for better or ill. You can't hire on a new father necessarily or anything else. It's just, anyway. Haywire of Alba, are you an individualist? I would need to know what definition you mean by individualist, because to say yes to these sort of ambiguous notions before I know what you mean, it's sort of like, I learned this very early on, thankfully. Love means very different things to very different people. If I say, I love you, and someone else says, I love you back, are we talking about the same thing? Not necessarily. I have unfortunately learned through hard experience in the past. So those kind of questions I kind of avoid. Is like, I don't even know what you mean. Alyssa doesn't lie. I fired my cousins. Okay, well, cousins, you can take or leave. They're just kind of there. You don't have any obligation to cousins. I mean, technically, you don't have any obligation to anybody in your family. But, as far as family members go, yeah, cousins, you can sort of put up a wall, insulate, and they're just kind of out there. And cousins by itself, like a cousin is such a loose term. I've got cousins that I don't think I've ever met, but technically they're cousins. They're relations of some kind or another. Nothing for you here says, life is a journey. If you plan every step, you might miss the sunset. No, the sunset's coming for all of us. I don't care what pathway you take. The sunset is coming for all of us. And on that grim and somewhat morbid note, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm not sure I learned much. I might have learned something about our speaker, but I mean, take that for what it's worth. And certainly our speaker probably represents some percentage of people out there. So I don't know. I'll have to muse on it as we go. But guys, thank you so much for joining me today on this interesting little sojourn. Hope you all have a good rest of your weekend, good rest of your Saturday. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your participation. Everybody who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Be sure to check out my own self-made, not TEDx talk that I just posted on my channel. Hopefully you'll find that enjoyable. If you've been following these TEDXcellence episodes, you might get a chuckle or two. You might also recognize a theory or two in there. Also, be sure to join me, Satsu 2 Cents, and Ranting Monkey tonight on Ranting Monkey's channel, which happens every Saturday night at 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. So 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, everybody, have a good rest of your day. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Sayonara. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, something.